you might be aware this week is Refugee Awareness Week, and in the next hour we're going to spread awareness around refugees, learn the barriers which they're currently facing, and hear a real-life story from a Devon Refugee Support participant. Plus Positive People is supported by the National Lottery Community Fund and the European Social Fund. We are now joined by Anna Lodge from Sunrise Diversity. Hello.
Hi.
Hello, awesome, I can't hear you. I was panicking there for a second. How are you doing? How's things?
I'm great, thank you. Yeah, it's great to be with you guys, and yeah, lovely sunny day.
I'm glad you think it's a sunny day because I'm petrified that I'm going to be caught here and I'm just going to have to do a very quick hood up. But we'll see how it goes. Obviously you work for Sunrise Diversity. Can you tell me about the work you do and how you support people?
Yeah, definitely. So we're a small charity based in North Devon and Torridge, and we offer support to a very wide range of people from diverse backgrounds. Those people could be migrant individuals, people from the Black, Asian community, refugees and asylum seekers, and we also support people who are from the LGBTQ community, who are disabled, or anybody else who identifies from a diverse group. Now we provide a range of services and activities, classes and events to service users, people who come to us for support or who come to learn English language. We also feel it's important to raise awareness within the community of diversity in our area. And our aims are to celebrate diversity, challenge discrimination, and change attitudes towards diversity. We essentially want the area to be a place that no matter where you come from, what your background is, that people are supported and celebrated and valued.
Couldn't agree more with that. There's so many like negative stereotypes come from so many minorities and so many diverse and different groups out there, and a lot of the time, pretty much all the time, it's so wrong, and it's always a small few that have started this. And something that came up earlier, and I've actually discussed as well, because it was something I never understood the difference between, is what the difference is between a refugee and an asylum seeker. Could you tell us the difference, what it is? Could you define those two for us?
Yeah, definitely. That is something we get asked about a lot. So I'll try and put it as simple as possible. A refugee is somebody who's been given the legal right to remain in a country after after they have proven they have fled persecution. So they've left their home, they've made an application to legally remain in the country, and they've been granted that permission to stay. An asylum seeker is someone who's made themselves aware to the authorities and they've applied for their right to stay in fleeing persecution. They're waiting for the answer, basically. One question I had recently was how do you define somebody who's entered the country before they have managed to make themselves aware to the authorities? What's the definition there? And apparently, according to the UN Convention 1951, somebody who enters the country before they've made themselves, before applying for asylum would be the term, they'd be called a refugee still. However, they're only accepted and provided with refugee status and documentation after their asylum application has been accepted.
Okay, so I can see now why a lot of people may get confused about that, but for me, myself, I understand that a bit more now, and I thank you for explaining that. I think it's the first time I've ever heard those words and known what difference is. For me, it's always been the same, as I'm sure a lot of people who aren't, it's a case of educating yourself, isn't it? So
Yeah, it's
continue.
complicated.
It is, but it's one thing to be not know something, but another thing to make assumptions based on not knowing something. I think you need to make yourself very aware or educate yourself before you can start talking about something a little bit. So, in regards to refugees, how many do you estimate come to the UK and Devon each year?
Okay, so I've got some figures here. So as I mentioned, in the first couple minutes, we cover North Devon and Torridge. So I've got numbers for that. So in the area that Sunrise covers, North Devon and Torridge, we had 27 refugee individuals resettled as part of the community sponsorship scheme for refugees. There was a total of 189 across Devon. And the UK as a whole offered protection to 9,936 people in 2020. Actually, that figure is around half, 48% of the number in 2019, and actually at the lowest level since 2014.
That is still that's quite a lot of people. That I can imagine a lot more looking for asylum, looking to get that refugee status. It's alarming and worrying that people have that need to flee so far. So, how many people do Sunrise support?
Um, so we're quite a small charity. The support that we provide is quite intensive. Someone comes to us, it's often wraparound, holistic support. So people might come to us for advocacy and support, and also come for groups and social opportunities to meet other people and, get in touch with the community. In numbers, we supported 60, actually over 60 people, one-to-one support. Over 50 approached us for English language, to learn more English language, and 40 for, just the groups and social opportunities. But in addition to that, we reached over 1,000 people through raising awareness in the wider community across North Devon and Torridge.
That's a great amount, and it's lovely to hear that so much support is out there being given. Going on to Misbeliefs, because as I've mentioned already, there's a lot of I didn't understand about it, even the definition between asylum seeker and refugee. What are the common what are the common misbeliefs about refugees specifically?
Yeah. We often hear people say there are too many immigrants, and this puts pressure on services such as healthcare and benefits, and not really understanding, the differences between different groups of people. Like you said before, what a refugee is, what an asylum seeker is, and knowing a bit more information can help. Um, if you look at the number of refugees in the UK, they only make up 1/4% of the total population. That's only 0.26%. And asylum applications to the UK are actually relatively low, especially in comparison to some other countries. They peaked at 84,000 in 2002. So that was, 9 years ago. And in 2019, there were 35,000 applications, which is much, much lower. So numbers have gone down. So, that does help to debunk that concern and that myth. Also, we're seeing some really positive schemes in the UK. So, for instance, there's one that's come to light quite recently between RefuAid and Liverpool John Moores University. They've got a joint programme for getting qualified refugee nurses working in NHS hospitals. So a number of the first cohort who've gone through that programme have secured roles as healthcare assistants. And that means that those refugees have been able to support themselves in the UK independently. And not only that, they're able to do a job that they love and that they're trained for, which is wonderful. The next things that I would like to, to kind of mention, the refugees make a really brilliant contribution to the country and to local areas, bringing talent, beautiful cultural contributions. And I think we can learn empathy by putting ourselves in the shoes of somebody who's had to escape the dangers in their country, to seek safety here.
Absolutely, I must admit those numbers. When you said 1/4%, that surprised even myself, and I'm aware how there's been a lot of twisting of numbers in regards to this kind of thing. I can think of so. You'll have to excuse the passing train. That was perfect timing, wasn't it? I can think of a number of people. If I was to say 0.25%, that would, be very different to what was actually being discussed or thought, say down at the local pub when this kind of conversation comes up. My dad would have been one, bless him, to that would be news to him. I think it's like that kind of information that really, like you said, debunks those kinds of myths about it. Makes you really think, it's actually, it's not a problem for us, but it's a huge problem for anyone who's trying to get in and genuinely need the help, as there are many, but not in comparison to how many of us there are here. It's quite astounding, really, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I think that number, 0.25%, is quite striking, especially when the concern is they're, quite sweeping statements very often. Too many people, taking up too much time, taking up too many, resources, without knowing further information. And it's what I would say is it's useful to know that information, especially such a striking statistic as 0.25%. I think also one of the really important ways to, not necessarily debunk, but to talk to people and to shed positive light on the experience of refugees coming into the UK, into our local areas, is just the wonderful things they bring as individuals. And to think about, what about your home? What if you had to go through the same situation? What would that feel like? If we put ourselves in someone's shoes, that can go quite a way to developing empathy and, questioning those, those beliefs that sometimes people think they have.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. It's like you said, putting yourself in their shoes. It's very hard to do, obviously, when you've never been there, but it only takes a little bit of thinking and a little bit of imagination from your part, and you can really think, oh, actually that would be quite horrible. What would drive me to up and leave my whole home and everything behind? It's something I don't even like to think about. It's that nasty. But obviously, if there is a refugee or an asylum seeker who is accessing your support, how can you help them?
Okay, so as well as accessing our services, we have workers who specialize in working with people, especially when they're new to the country and learning the English language. This could be from a very, very much a beginner stage of learning the English language. I'll give you an example. One of our workers talked about. They were able to go to the refugee's house and supported with bus trips into town. So initially, our worker led the interactions, and the individual could watch and kind of pay attention to what was going on. And then they could learn and practice some words together. Pictures were used, like local buses, pictures of local bus stops, pictures of what tickets look like in the area, bus drivers, return ticket, one-way ticket, all the vocabulary you'd need for that, interaction. And then they developed into taking the next steps, asking for the ticket themselves, building confidence in it. And after 3 or 4 sessions, they were able to get the bus into town. So it's developing those very practical skills that allow people to access other things in the community. Another aspect is that refugees that are not part of the Home Office resettlement scheme don't get help once the claim is agreed. So navigating the maze of services and support, is difficult. And sometimes refugees might not present it to services in the way that somebody expects if they haven't supported many refugees previously. So we can support with this and make sure that, somebody has access to the services that they're entitled to and the support that they're entitled to. Because trust is often a big issue. People seeking asylum, if you've fled and you're in fear and don't know who to turn to, we're here as a community, service. We can offer emotional and practical help, link people in with groups, with the community, and with the things that people we need to, to get by day to day.
Well, like you said there, trust is such a big thing, and again, as you said, if they're already coming from a place where there's so many problems, there's likely to be a lack of trust, and how, with other things like not being able to understand how to basic things like get around, like you said, on buses, it's going to be so hard to know who to even listen to when being helped to integrate into society here. So to have people like you guys around it was just so key, and I can only imagine what it's like, the red tape side of it all. Well, did you say that when you've been granted refugee status, that help then goes away?
So I've been sent this information from one of our workers. So refugees that are not part of the Home Office resettlement
Uh-huh.
scheme, once their claim is agreed, they wouldn't get any kind of ongoing support after that. That's been arranged.
Is that something that then you can then continue to help with and help people get like properly settled and continue on without any help after that?
Yes.
I see. I'm
Yeah.
with you. Sorry,
Yeah.
I mixed things
100%.
up. That's lovely to hear, though. Like, yeah, that's what you need. When there's if there's a gap somewhere where there's not quite enough to help them get on their own 2 feet, to get somebody there in whatever situation that may be, that could be almost anything in this day and age. It's just nice to have it there so that people can go on, and then you can help the next person who needs it. So, talking about awareness now, how could we collectively raise awareness in the community?
Okay, so, things like sharing positive media coverage is good. That could be on social media. If you see a newspaper clipping where, a story from a refugee or asylum seeker has been, welcomed, celebrated, things that are in a positive light and that have, if you know that the statistics are helpful and informative, if the writing is done in a way that, that helps the case, that's always good. So taking part in things like Refugee Week, this week is all about spreading positive awareness, having a conversation about what you've learned with others, like, wow, that 1/4%, that's, a really quick and useful way to debunk some worries, if people have them for any reason. Um, I mean, in terms of awareness raising as a community centre, promoting, and celebrating diversity, we've had fun activities that have been done with groups before COVID and online as well. Things like crafts that look at home and identity. So an example of that is we've used a luggage tag, which we've utilised different materials to make a tag with your name or a message on it, while creating and thinking about something, thinking about what that experience would be like, thinking about the information you've learned about refugees. So that could be done and replicated across the community, really. And yeah, of course, get in touch with local organisations. I know we've got some others coming up soon. Get in touch with us, get in touch with them, and bigger organisations like the Refugee Council. Um, yeah, lots to do.
Very lovely. We've got an image on the screen here of what we did there. We'll have it again soon of all the different bits there from Sunrise. Anna, thank you very much for coming on the show today. It's been lovely. You've definitely taught me a thing or two, and I'm hoping I can take that information and share it with others. Hopefully, other people have been, had their eyes opened a little bit too. It's been lovely. Could you come back on soon? Be lovely.
Yes, please. Thank you for having me.
Lovely, thank you, Anna. If you'd like to get in touch with Sunrise Diversity, you can contact admin at sunrisediversity.org.uk. We're taking a short break, and when we're back, we'll be joined by Ruth from Devon Refugee Support and Wafa from one of their participants. Back with you after this. Hello, welcome back to Chaos. I'm Pudge, and we're going to continue now our section on Plus with Refugee Week. So we are now joined by Ruth, who is Communications and PR Trustee at Devon Refugee Support, and their participant, Wafa. Hello, how are you doing?
Hi there.
Lovely.
Hi.
I think, yes, I can hear you both now. How are you both doing? How's the day treating you?
Very well, thanks. Enjoying the sunshine.
Yeah, we are great, thank you.
See, everyone's saying sunshine that I've been interviewing today, and honestly, can I have some? I'm terrified it's going to rain any second, and you're going to see me putting my hood up and getting soaked. Anyway, Ruth, can I start with you? Can you tell us who Devon Refugee Support are, and what support do you offer?
Of course. Well, Devon Refugee Support is a community organisation, a charity based in Exeter, and it's been running for 20 years now. It first started helping refugees and asylum seekers in Exeter and Devon in 2001. And it was supporting Afghan refugees who were coming to the southwest. And now many of those people are now settled into life in Exeter and Devon, and Refugee Support Devon is helping many other groups of people, refugees and asylum seekers who are coming to Devon, whether they've moved here of their own volition or they've come here through various resettlement programs run by the government. Refugee Support Devon helps them to find their way in Exeter and Devon, to help them to learn the language, put them in touch with local services, to find housing, and generally gives them support, whether it's mental health support or putting them in touch, making them feel connected with the local community and welcome here. So it does many different services, all there to help newcomers to the area to feel really settled and supported.
That's fantastic. It sounds very all-encompassing, and from what you said there, it sounds like there's been a lot of success over these 20 years, which is absolutely great to hear. In your personal opinion, you found Devon a welcoming county for refugees. Can you tell us why this is?
Yeah, of course. Well, my sense of it from my role on the board of Refugee Support Devon is that this is a really welcoming county for refugees and asylum seekers. We haven't had the huge numbers that other areas of the UK may have had, areas that have been dispersal sites for asylum seekers over many years. But we've had a steady number of people coming here in search of sanctuary, and I think Devon has given a warm welcome, whether it's the county council, which gives support and is very committed to making sure that people settle in and integrate into local communities, or whether it's through charities like Refugee Support Devon, which completely depends on volunteers from the local community. We have 90 volunteers at the moment helping to deliver services, and that gives you a sense of just how many people are interested and willing to come and lend their time and support to helping people who arrive here.
I absolutely love it when communities like that get together just to help each other. There's no monetary incentive. Everyone just wants to help for the good of a fellow human. It's very heartwarming. It's one of those faith in humanity restored moments, isn't it?
It is indeed. It is indeed. We feel that all the time.
Oh, I can see it from your smiling face. It's so lovely. It looks like how I feel here at Chaos, I must admit. And I'm not trying to big up Chaos too much now, but it's exactly how I feel here. So, Wala, can I come over to you now? You're a refugee from Syria. Would you mind me asking, if it's all right, could you share your story with us?
Yes, for sure. So my name is Wala. I am from Syria. I am refugee from Syria. I came to this country since 2016 with my husband and my two daughters. I left Syria because of the terrible war, and then I fled to Lebanon. So after 8 years, in Lebanon, and with a lot of bad treatment, which include racism, I applied for the United Nations, and then I came to England, which is amazing for me and my family. We were looking for a safer place, and we came here, and we are really happy with my new life here in England. So when I arrived to the airport in Bristol, there is two staff of the Refugee Support Devon. They were waiting for us, and they were holding a sign. I saw my name and my husband's name on the sign, so I felt, oh yeah, there is one waiting for us. Because I don't expect there is anyone in the airport. No, we are coming. Since 2016, we came without any language, without any English. So we start to work in our language, me and my husband. So we went to Exeter College the first year, and then the next year, some of the organization called the Globe English Center for English. They offer us, me and my husband, full-time English. And then my husband, he applied for Exeter University, and he just graduated master. And I finished my degree with the OU. My children, they are really happy with the school. They're doing really well. So I remember the first 2 weeks when we arrived, my daughter, she was just crying. She was 4 years old. She just was crying, and I asked her, Mommy, why you are crying? She said, Mommy, because I can't understand anything. I don't have any friends. She said, because I don't know how can I speak English. So after 2 weeks, my daughter, she just was speaking English, and now she's talking like a native English. Sometimes I do some mistakes. She just corrects for me. She said, Mommy, why you are saying this? This is wrong. So they're doing really well at school. I did a lot of volunteer. I am a volunteer with RSD, with Refugee Support Devon. I did as well volunteer with Exeter University in the Islamic Institute, Arabic Institute. So I still work as interpreter for a sponsor helping a Syrian refugee here in Devon. I work in nursery as a support worker. And at the moment, I'm working with an organization called Olive Tree as well, helping Syrian refugee enrollment in Exeter College, helping them with their English. So, yeah.
I can't get over how far and how much you've done since you've come from obviously such a horrible time. All of you, and you know what? I've got to focus on one thing. You say your daughter is now talking fluent English. Is that right?
Yeah, she's talking fluent English. Even the youngest one, she's sometimes when I speak in English, she just try to correct for me. Mommy, that's wrong. We can't say this in this way. Mommy, your pronunciation is not good enough. Oh, yeah. All right. Okay.
You know what?
I work as well.
I think there's something about kids that could do that though, can't they? With language. I had one of my best friends move over to Spain when we were both in our early teenage years, and his mum could get a little bit of Spanish, but now he can speak fluent Spanish. He can speak proper Catalan, and I'm just like, it only took him a few months to get the whole lot. And it's just like, it's nuts. So kids can really do some amazing things, can't they?
Yeah. To be honest, when we came, I was worried about them, both of them, because they don't have any English. But now, actually, I'm worried about their Arabic because they're talking English at home all the time. So I have a degree in Arabic literature. So I am a primary teacher for 5 years. So I said, no, just English. No, sorry, just Arabic. She said, Mommy, English is easier for us. So now we're doing a lot of fighting at home. No Arabic, no English. So yeah.
You know what? I'm not going to get involved in that one at all. That's your fight to fight. What support has Devon Refugee Support given you, and how do you feel about the future?
Actually, Refugee Support Devon, like what I said, they give us a support when we came, and they still give us this support. So I just want to say big thanks for all the staff. They're working with the RSD. It's not just for staff, for the volunteers as well, for the support workers. So actually, RSD, they providing a lot of support for all the refugees from any country. So, they help them with settling them into their language, training and filling volunteers who help them to do they providing volunteer to help them what they need. So yeah, they providing a lot of help, and I'm really appreciate that. So, but you just ask about the barriers the refugee they faced or they have. So there is a lot of barriers. The first one is the language difficulties. And then the job, getting jobs. So in Syria, to have experience is enough. Here, no, a qualification or need. So it's so difficult with us. So I know a lot of families because I work with them at the moment. They have a lot of experience. They are professional, but unfortunately they can't do this here without, qualification. Language, I think the big barrier for them and for me, from my experience, I remember the first year when I came without any English, it was really difficult because, in my opinion, English is the key to do anything you want. The last barrier, in my opinion, is sometimes for the ladies who's wearing hijab, they look from different religion. So sometimes they have, they just stay away from the community. So this is one of the barrier as well. This is make it a little bit difficulties. So yeah.
I think it's a bit of a stereotype, isn't it? That people take and it's the same old. Don't judge a book by its cover. We should all know that by now. And it's frustrating to hear that that's still the case. But I think it's people like yourselves who have literally been in those places we need to be listening to be able to get this right, because no one's going to know better than yourselves. And it's lovely to know that you've got people like Devon Refugee Support and Sunrise that are going to actually be there to help you through this. And it's lovely to see people like yourselves who have managed to get through all this and are doing so well. It's really, really well. It's really quite amazing to hear. And thank you also, Wafa, for sharing your story. I imagine it's not the best thinking back to the worst times, but I'm really glad to hear that things are on the up for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Ruth, if that's all right, I'd love to come back over to you now. So for some people who might be watching at home and would like to contribute to helping refugees, is there any advice on how people can get involved?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I think the first thing that comes into my mind, having heard Wala's story and thinking about the barriers to refugees, is for people to speak to people in their local area, in their local community, who are from a different background to them, whether or not they're refugees or asylum seekers, whether they're from another country or even just from another walk of life or area in this country. Because I think when we start to hear each other's stories, that's when we really build understanding. And we have on refugees and asylum seekers, a very toxic immigration debate. This issue has been used by politicians for very strategic reasons. And a lot of misconceptions about refugees are in the newspapers virtually every day when it suits newspaper editors and politicians to make sure those headlines get there. So the first thing I would say of how to get involved is literally to look around you and see, are there people that live near to you who might have a story to tell or a perspective that can, help you to understand who lives in your local area and what their background is, what their story is, and help you to relate to them person to person, because essentially that's what we're all looking to do in one way or another. So to get beyond the noise and to do that, I think, is really important. In terms of refugee support, Devon, there are plenty of ways that people can get involved if they're interested in working with charities in the local area. And there are other charities based in other cities across the southwest, in Plymouth and in various towns in Cornwall as well, helping refugees and asylum seekers in the local area. So you can always go to the website of local organisations and see what they're doing, what events they're doing that you can get involved in, and potentially how you could donate or fundraise for them, because so many of these efforts are volunteer run. They're often completely run on a shoestring, struggling for cash because it's not easy to fund this kind of work. So we have people at Refugee Support Devon shaving their heads as part of fundraising drives, or doing sponsored bike rides and raising money from their local community. So if anyone wants to do anything like that, they should feel free to do so. We'd be very grateful. Also, you could come and volunteer directly for the organisation. Obviously, that's been much more difficult over the course of the pandemic and the lockdown, and that's been the case for community organisations up and down the country. But now things are hopefully opening up a bit more. There may be ways to volunteer and to lend your time and your warmth or your interest in the issue by helping people who are trying to set up a new life here in the UK. So there's lots of ways to do it. I think the first thing to do is check out the website, sign up for newsletters of refugee organisations in your local area. Refugee Support Devon has one. And then take it from there and see what opportunities come up that you can get involved in.
That's fantastic. There's so much you can do. I don't know about myself for shaving the hair. I don't know if you've seen, but I've got some decent racing stripes going on. I need to hold on to anything I've got left. But it's brilliant. And as somebody who was raised in a village in Cornwall where everyone was just sort of the same, everyone it's to go to. I can imagine for a lot of people, you see someone different in any way, you think, oh, I don't know, but you're just another human. Go and talk to someone. It's not that hard, honestly. And the more stories we tell each other, the more we can understand each other, the more we can work together in this world to make it a better place. I don't know why we still don't understand that these days, but at least that's my opinion on it. So if I want to go on a bit more about Devon Refugee Support, what have you got planned for the future?
Well, next week is Refugee Week in the UK because it's World Refugee Day on the 20th of June. So Refugee Support Devon's holding a big event on the quayside in Exeter on Saturday, the 26th of June from 11 o'clock until 5 o'clock. Wonderful. You've got the details right up there on the screen.
Oh, we are ready, I tell you.
You are so high-tech. Fantastic. So we're going to have so many different interesting things. We're going to have reenactments of the Huguenots, that's the Protestants from France in the 16th century who were kicked out by the Catholics and given a hard time. And we'll be having reenactments of their journey to Exeter because there was a population of Huguenots that set up a life in Exeter as far back as that. And some other dramatic reenactments as well of children seeking sanctuary in Exeter by boat. So that's all going to be worth a watch. We've got a genuine UNHCR, that's the United Nations Refugee Agency tent, which we're going to have up. There's going to be talks, there's going to be a photo exhibition, food, music and dancing, of course. There's going to be loads to get involved in. So I think we're all a bit starved of events that bring people together. I certainly haven't been to anything like that for a very, very long time, but I'm massively looking forward to it. And I think for anyone else who's up for coming along, meeting some other people, checking out Refugee Support Devon and just having an interesting and fun day, please do join us there. You can come anytime between 11 and 5, and we'd love to see you there.
Fantastic stuff. Thank you so much, both of you, for this. Wafa, thank you so much for sharing your story. Again, it's so lovely to hear that things are going so much better for you and your family. And obviously, Ruth, thank you so much for telling us all about Devon Refugee Support. It's lovely to see how much you guys have been doing in the past 20 years and are still doing. I think that's it for us today, but please come back on the show another time. It'd be lovely to chat to you both again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure.
Thank you, guys. So if you'd like to find out any more information about what you've heard today, please reach out to us, Chaos TV, that is, and we can point you in the right direction, as always. If you want to get in contact with any specific methods, you can text Chaos and your message to 82228. That's standard net rate supply, but please do get the bill payer's permission. You can also email hello@thisischaos.co.uk. You can call 01872 22 8844, and across all the social media, we are at Chaos TV UK, but please use the hashtag KeepItChaos.